Welcome back to the Herbert Dennard Show. My name is Amanda Smith, and I'm your host for today. And I have here with me Mr. Newton Collier, who is jamming again, making a comeback. How are you doing, Newton?
Good, good. How you doing today?
I'm good. Mr. Collier is probably best known for when he played with Sam and Dave and did Soul Man. Is probably pretty much his best known song. But tell me a little bit about how you got started in making and who you started, the group you started with, and how it went.
Okay, around 1957, 58, maybe a little bit earlier, I started like living in Dennard Heights area, and I used to listen to a group called Jelly Jenkins and the Pine Toppers. They technically were practicing and rehearsing across the street from me, but what impressed me most was I was interested in the music, and they had a trumpet player in the band named Sammy Coleman. And I used to sneak over to, check them out sometimes. Well, I technically couldn't go over them, but I could go to the porch and listen to them play. And after a while, I was studying piano with Miss Gladys Williams during the same time. Ended up with the trumpet. And so I started asking this guy to show me some little things he was doing, so he did. And I started working at the Washington Center as a student, taking lessons under Mr. Robert Scott. And Mr. Scott sort of pushed me on, so Coleman paid attention to me. He was in the Air Force. So I got a chance to hang out with the Air Force guys, who are all great musicians. And I started learning basically between high school programs, well, under high school programs, at the Booker T. Washington Center, and Miss Gladys Williams teaching me piano lessons, and Robert Scott teaching me trumpet lessons. And one day I was coming home from school, I was walking through Dennard Heights, and there was a guy named Burt Hamlin and Lewis Hamlin. They played with James Brown band at the time. And I just happened to run across them, and they were practicing. They were brothers. They were practicing. And I walked up into that camp and got a whole new perspective of what the horn's supposed to really do. And between all those guys, that's really how I got started. And I started hanging out when I got old enough. Well, I really wasn't old enough. I should take that back. I was too young to do anything. I would hang out with Clint Bradley's club down on 5th Street. Clint knew my mother, so I was in good hands. I could take a Coca-Cola, put a cherry in it, and I was drinking. So I was a big shot. So I sort of kept my teeth that way. And Harold Smith was in the band. Harold eventually went on to be with Otis Redding. And while Harold would be sitting there playing, I paid attention to what he was playing. Coleman, by this time, was playing organ and trumpet. That made it easier for me, because I could play keyboards. So when Coleman played keyboards, I'd come up and play 1 or 2 songs, but we had rehearsed what I've done. It was all cut and dry. It didn't make me look too silly. And so I just that's how I really got started.
So you kind of like hung out with the guys that were doing what you wanted to do.
Musicians.
You kind of emulated what they were doing until you got good. Well, tell me how you eventually got with Sam and Dave.
Well, the way it goes, I started playing with the Pine Toppers. The Pine Toppers were booked by Jelly Jenkins and Phil Walden, and they had Otis Redding under their reps. At this time, Phil Walden had an organization which was pretty big. They were booking nightclubs and also doing fraternity jobs. So I started doing those. And one of the vacation times, I went off into Augusta to play. And I came back to Macon, and Sam and Dave, which was a new group. I had only heard of them through the office. I didn't know too much about them. They needed a horn player, another horn player. So I had been playing around with the Pine Toppers band. I guess they figured they needed me. So without them knowing that I was going to go with them, I just more or less got on the bus. And Sam tells the story. He told some people, he said, yeah, man, Newt came and got on the bus. And he's hanging out with us a little bit. I didn't think anything about it. And we getting ready to go, and Newton's still hanging around. The bus getting ready to pull off, Newton's still sitting on the bus. And so we turned around and said, hey, man, you can't, where you going? Or something like that. And so I said, well, I'm going with you all. He said, huh? I think I shocked him when he said this. So that lasted 14 years.